Well, hello again, brothers and sisters in Christ. Pastor Mike here. Hopefully things are treating you well, things going good, etc., etc. We are firmly here in the month of November, which means, well, one, the church year is winding down. Two, the real year is winding down. And at some point in time, my grass will no longer be green, but it still is. But who knows? Hopefully your November continues to go well. And that your preparations for Thanksgiving and Christmas and just what's going to be here on out quite a busy time goes well, and definitely prayers for peace amidst that. And may the external pressures of what you need to buy or should buy be reduced. I tell you what, those pressures are odd. But we're in this interesting time, as I said last week. It's about kind of preparation. This time in the church here, we're looking at preparation for the coming of Christ, both the second coming and the first coming. They have this merger with Christ the King, and then Advent and Christmas. It's a very interesting season. But preparation is what it's about, and how we prepare, what we prepare about, and all those other sorts of things. And I know last week we had the wonderful story of the 10 bridesmaids, the 5 that brought oil, the 5 that did not, and really looking at what I like to in the text, look at the long haul. And it's really, I believe, a call for patience, a call for understanding, and trust that God will show. God does act, but not necessarily on our timing. So our preparation, our faith, our life always needs to be this understanding of we will actively wait on God. We'll have the stuff we need for the vigil to keep watch. Because 5 of those ladies did not. And when they went to, refuel, they missed. And that is the key reminder. And hopefully the grace in that is sometimes when God doesn't match our timing, we think God won't show up or God won't act. No, it's just not on our timetable. The other one is this interesting one for this week. And it's also preparation. But I don't think we think a lot about it as preparation. It is the story of the talents, where you have this rich landowner that's going away and then is going to come back. And so he entrusts excessive amounts of money to his 3 servants, his 3 slaves. He gives 10,000 to one, 5,000, and 1,000, if my memory serves well, to these 3 gentlemen. And, the 10,000 one invests, the 5,000 one invests and gets, interest back. And the other one, just buries their talent and gives him back what he wants. And, the owner of the money is frustrated. And so it's interesting because a lot of stuff going on here. On the surface level, and what I'll probably talk about Sunday, is how do we use our gifts? How do we use them? Because the great struggle, I don't want to say failing, but the fear that short-circuited the third guy from doing anything with the gifts that God gave him was this fear. And he got afraid, and he didn't do anything with it. But in many ways, this is also a preparation text, because they are handling that wealth and that gifts, preparing for the owner to return. And that is, I think, one of the important lenses that we need to think about, is do we use our gifts, handle our gifts in the understanding that God will be coming back for them? Which sounds weird. Like, well, if we're talking about spiritual gifts or talents or those things, what do you mean God comes back for them? Well, I think it's important to realize that God entrusts these things to us, but they are ultimately His. And how we use them should always be in the understanding of this, accounting, if you will. Not in a very negative sense, because my struggle always with talking about that, and, as I keep pushing on, and I'm going to bring it up this time around on the church year, is that can often seem very legalistic and threatening, right? Where God's coming in, and He's going to take account of what you did with what He gave you. Boy, you better be ready. But I think there's a more graceful understanding of that. And that is, God is excited and joyous when we use and we grow those things. I'll give an example for what it's worth. Maybe my kids don't watch this. 2 of the boys were in that wonderful Sandwich Opera House production of Wizard of Oz. I was overjoyed by the work they put in. They put in work. There were some long nights, man. There were some hard nights. But the end, they really stewarded, invested their talents. And when the time came due, they did an amazing job. And I was excited. I was exhausted from that week. Because, man, driving them boys around, they were getting home late, et cetera, et cetera. But there was this definite joy in that they did great with what they were given. They stewarded, they grew it, it became something amazing. And that is great. And think about it. Think about it. If we use what God gives us well, can God be overjoyed? This is the season of November, which is about gratitude. And honestly, I think one of the great ways that God sees our gratitude is in his joy. I honestly believe in a joyous God, that when he sees kids in church and they're growing, whatever pace they are, he has joy. Then when he sees adults growing, he sees joy. If somebody in their 50s changes career, I don't think God's like, well, you're misusing your gifts. I think they're trying to invest in talents, maybe talents that they had buried before, now they're invested in. I don't think God is upset or frustrated, but overjoyed in those things. And that is the lens I want for this midweek meditation, is God will reckon what we do with the talents. And part of the good side of it is not the worry, the fear, but the joy God gets when we use those things well. Think about it. Part of that is my own bias, that I think sometimes we really fall to a understanding of a cranky, ornery God that's just, not happy with us, isn't pleased, and is going to be upset about something. And honestly, I think we have a God that is more interested in giving and sharing and cultivating for joy for himself, for us, and for the world. I don't know. That's always been my bias. Maybe it's because, I have 3 boys, and there's the joy when I see them becoming who they are. And maybe I assume that God has joy in watching us become who we are meant to be. But that's my bias on those things. Well, brothers and sisters, don't forget, Thanksgiving coming up soon. It's the Tuesday before Thanksgiving around here. Again, that's part of I think, a good no-conflict policy. I do not want any of the wonderful folks that cook, be they man, woman, child, any age, who is trying to finagle birds and taters and all those things to feed all the guests, to be cranky with me about, hey man, I got to cook, you crazy pastor. So the no conflict is good. Come celebrate with your church brothers and sisters in Christ. Thankfulness of blessing God's have, and then definitely Thursday, Wednesday, Friday, however that works with you, gather with your family to rejoice in those things. Blessings, brothers and sisters. We'll talk to you soon. Bye now.